I left last week's episode off with the question, with 1 week left to go in 1984, what could possibly happen in pro wrestling? The end of a career as we know it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Tyler Vance Rants. I am your host, Tyler Vance himself, and you're not. It is December 29th, 1984. Last week, several wrestlers made proclamations for 1985. Playboy Buddy Rose returned to the World Wrestling Federation, who proclaimed themselves the symbol of excellence when it came to sports entertainment. And WWF Champion Hulk Hogan enlisted the aid of that hillbilly Big Jim, who's been attending every single WWF event for the past several months, against the giant John Studd and the world's strongest man, Ken Patera. We'll be tuning into the National Wrestling Alliance's Worldwide Wrestling program first this week, where David Crockett and Tony Schiavone greet us on commentary and call the action for the first match. Mr. Kareem Muhammad of the Zambui Express, who's accompanied by his manager Paul Jones, takes on one of Jones's former clients in Assassin Number 1. Assassin Number 1 is in control of the match as we join it in progress, keeping Mr. Kareem Muhammad subdued with a shoulder lock. However, a punch from Mr. Muhammad to the masked man's chest sends the rotund assassin tumbling down to the floor through the ropes. Instead of taking the opportunity to collect himself, that masked moron spends the majority of his 10 allotted seconds outside of the ring unsuccessfully trying to run Paul Jones down. Hey assassin, here's a tip of the trade. Maybe lay off the donuts. Back inside the squared circle, Mr. Kareem Muhammad is able to turn the tables on his opponent, placing Assassin Number 1 in a shoulder lock this time before throwing him outside of the ring yet again, where this time Paul Jones can provide the man with his severance package. Crawling back to the center of the ring with all of the strength that he has left, Assassin Number 1 is able to catch Mr. Kareem Muhammad with a single punch, sending the man from the Zambui Express down to the mat. Think again, you masked moron. This is all part of Paul Jones's trap, and you fell into it.
David, who is that? Oh my goodness.
With a 2x4.
Who is that? Oh my.
He's going up on that top rope. Look at that man.
Is that an awesome looking sight or what?
Several wrestlers rush down to the ring, and only then does the mysterious man in war paint cease his attack on Assassin Number 1. 1985 is going to be a banner year for Paul Jones. Backstage, crotchety David Crockett has a word with Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling's newest star, Magnum T, who has no idea who the mysterious man with Paul Jones in war paint was, but demands that the National Wrestling Alliance do something about it.
I don't know who that man is. I've never seen him before. I don't know anybody that knows who he is. Something's got to be done about this. This Paul Jones, there's a lot of men I'm walking around with here, and I'm walking proud with, like Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream.
Oh, why am I not surprised that the newest star of Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling has thrown his hat into the lot with the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and his criminal posse. It's such a shame, because otherwise Magnum TA could have had such a promising career. Another one of the criminal accomplices that associates with that goon, the American Dream Dusty Rhodes, is the self-appointed number 1 contender to the NWA United States Heavyweight Championship, and its current champion, Chief Wahoo McDaniel. Avalanche Buzz Tyler is in action next against the Inferno in a blisteringly fast match that Tyler is able to win following a power slam. Paul Jones's newest client is appropriately named the Barbarian, and he is able to show us what he's all about against Sam Houston in singles action next. Houston is hefted up by the neck with a single hand from Paul Jones's client, who then proceeds to take a bite out of Sam Houston's face. This leads to a massive boot hitting Houston in the face before the Barbarian heads up to the second rope and drops a headbutt onto his opponent to walk away with a very impressive win. But wait, there's more! The Barbarian continues to dish out the punishment to Sam Houston following the conclusion of the match, just as a warning to any fool that wants to take on Paul Jones's army in 1985. David Crockett himself wants to speak to the mastermind Paul Jones, who's got both the Barbarian as well as superstar Billy Graham there in case Crockett gets lippy again. Billy Graham has an interesting proposal to any idiot out there that doubts his strength.
I'm ready to arm wrestle anybody, anywhere, anytime, anytown.
While Paul Jones himself rubs the success that he's accumulated in the face of anyone who's ever doubted him.
He's tough in the butt! Really, you can't beat him! Hit him!
Magnum TA asked the NWA to take action against Paul Jones, but first TA has to focus on his singles match against Ben Alexander. Alexander tries to body slam Magnum, but doesn't quite have the strength required to keep TA in the air. Ben Alexander then tries another tactic, slamming Magnum TA's head into the corner turnbuckle, but quickly finds himself reversed. A dropkick from Magnum then almost sends Ben Alexander over the top rope, but a belly-to-belly suplex after that is enough to secure Magnum TA the 1-2-3. Another newcomer to Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, Steve Casey, takes on Gary Royal one-on-one next and demonstrates a great deal of technical knowledge, using a plethora of holds to gain control over Royal early on in the match. A headbutt knocks both Gary Royal and Steve Casey down before Royal fights back, hitting Casey with a knee lift. Gary Royal subsequently misses a falling headbutt, which leads to Steve Casey being able to hit him square in the chest with a drop kick. Rebounding then from the corner, Steve Casey is able to walk away with an impressive win following a flying crossbody. After all of the horrendous behavior Dick Slater demonstrated at the closing end of 1984, you'd have thought he'd wind up on Santa Claus's naughty list. Instead, Dick Slater came away with his wish fulfilled of facing off against the NWA Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Champions, the Long Riders of Cowboy Ron Bass and Black Bart, as well as the NWA Television Champion Tully Blanchard in a bunkhouse match. Santa must have found some dollar bills alongside his cookies and milk when he visited the Slater home. Joining Dick Slater and his ridiculous hat are the American Dream Dusty Rhodes and crying Ricky Steamboat, who have all brought Magnum TA, the sellout that he is, with them to ringside, who ties up James J. Dillon with a rope. Referee, this is interference. Disqualify that thug and his accomplices. My pleas fall upon deaf ears as the bell rings, signifying the start of the match, while Rhodes, Slater, and Steamboat all gang up on Tully Blanchard before Ricky Steamboat suplexes the NWA Television Champion. Blanchard is then busted open and thrown outside of the ring through the ropes as a show of complete disrespect from the American Dream. The troubles for Tully Blanchard aren't over, as an atomic drop from Steamboat follows, which leads right into an elbow from Dick Slater. The three amigos of Dusty Rhodes, Dick Slater, and Ricky Steamboat all sit in the ring on steel chairs and gloat their dominance over both Tully Blanchard and the Long Riders, who discuss amongst themselves what to do next, considering their manager, James J. Dillon, is still being held against his will. Upon re-entering the squared circle, Tully Blanchard suffers another atomic drop, this time from Dick Slater, and sends the NWA Television Champion flying into the NWA Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion as Ron Bass tries to come to his aid. Dusty Rhodes threatens to kick Ron Bass where the sun don't shine, but thankfully Tully Blanchard is able to return the favor to Ron Bass's good intentions, whipping the American Dream again and again with a weightlifting belt. Ron Bass is then able to pile drive Ricky Steamboat as Tully Blanchard continues his assault on Dusty Rhodes in the corner. Black Bart and Dick Slater join the fracas before Tully Blanchard sends Ricky Steamboat flying after whipping him into the corner. Keep in mind, in a bunkhouse match, this kind of frenzied chaotic behavior is expected, so all the referee can do is simply stand by and wait for a pinfall or a submission. It all boils down to Dick Slater using his cowboy boot as a glove, knocking Black Bart down. Not even when the NWA Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion goes to his tag team partner's aid do they get a reprieve, as Ricky Steamboat, who has since recovered enough to climb to the top rope, comes down smashing with a boot glove of his own. And the show ends right then and right there. I'd have been happy if the match did too. Unfortunately for me, it's 2023, and I was able to look up the result of the match via the power of the internet. Do I want to talk about it? Why wouldn't I want to talk about how the American Dream Dusty Rhodes, Dick Slater, and crying Ricky Steamboat cheated to win? Why the hell was Magnum T allowed to be at ringside? He's not a manager. In fact, he spent the entirety of the match having an actual manager, a person who's supposed to be there, bound and tied to his waist, preventing the manager from conducting his duties. I guess now we know that when it comes to the American Dream Dusty Rhodes and his gang of thugs, a demand for action from the National Wrestling Alliance is answered almost immediately, with Magnum TA being given a free rein to do as he pleases. I'm so disgusted that I'm going to cleanse my palate by tuning into the World Wrestling Federation's flagship show, Championship Wrestling. Vince McMahon and the living legend Bruno Sammartino greet us on commentary and call the action for the first match. The returning Playboy Buddy Rose,
Weighing 256 pounds, 235 pounds.
Howard Finkel. This is 2 weeks in a row now that you've got something important very wrong. First, by not referring to John Studd by his proper title of the Giant John Studd, and now trying to make Playboy Buddy Rose look like a complete fool in front of an international television audience. You're walking on thin ice, Finkel. Get your act together. Playboy Buddy Rose takes on Steve Lombardi one-on-one. When the match begins, Buddy Rose is able to get into and affect the mind of Steve Lombardi by employing delay tactics, which completely angers the man from New York. Buddy Rose is able to take advantage of Lombardi's anger, body slamming him, and then even having the good decency to show the animals in the crowd what peak male performance looks like. Moments later, a diving reverse elbow puts Lombardi down hard. All it takes from there is a DDT and Playboy gets the 1-2-3.
Oh my, Big Jim is thinking about coming into the ring.
You stay right there, Big Jim, you big idiot. Don't make me call the cops. The WWF Update, hosted as always by Lord Awful Alfred Hayes, focuses on the mysterious Brutus Beefcake this week, where the Lord states that both Beefcake and his manager, Luscious Johnny Valiant,
Luscious Johnny and Brutus make a devastating pair. They're going to be difficult to beat.
When you have a manager, your chances of winning automatically go up. These are lessons that Assassin Number 1 never took to heart. And now look at him, he's a loser, while someone like Brutus Beefcake's star just keeps on rising, thanks in large part due to the actions of his manager, luscious Johnny Valiant. Jim Young takes on Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, who's accompanied by his manager Bobby the Brain Heenan, one-on-one next. Young might want to reconsider egging the animals in the crowd on, considering that their Paula chants are not only deafening, but serving to infuriate Mr. Wonderful. A nasty back suplex starts things off in Paul Orndorff's favor, where Jim Young then proceeds to retreat to what he perceives as safety on the outside of the ring. But Mr. Wonderful is on Young like a bad rash, body slamming Jim into the floor.
Now you know what it is to be with Mr. Wonderful in the ring, huh?
Back inside the squared circle, Paul Orndorff goes up to the top rope and drapes a knee across the chest of Jim Young, pinning him that way before going on to issue a vicious pile driver following the match as a reward for Jim Young egging the animals in the crowd on with their Paula chants. Idiot.
Big Jim is thinking about coming back into the ring, but after that...
I've hit 9. Don't make me dial 1-1, you mountain moron. More singles action follows as Bret Hart takes on Terry Gibbs. The match is joined in progress and sees Terry Gibbs absolutely wailing on Bret Hart in the corner before Bret receives a thunderous reverse atomic drop. However, Bret Hart is able to walk away with a shock win after rolling Terry Gibbs up.
Oh my goodness! Hello, America!
Wait, what's this now?
Yes. What's he doing?
Are you kidding me? That's it. Now I've dialed 9-1. Only one more one to go, pal. The Moondogs, Rex and Spot, take on Aldo Marino and Mario Mancini, while I resist the urge to not report both Hulk Hogan and Big Jim from Kentucky to the authorities. Surprisingly, this match too is joined in progress. It's weird that so many matches have been tonight. But I digress. The Moondogs are in complete control of their opponents, with Spot going on to hit a swift kick and a shoulder breaker onto Marino to emphasize my point. Moondog Rex tosses Aldo Marino into his own corner for a free tag to Mario Mancini, but it only takes mere moments for the not-so-Super Mario to lose the effort for his team following a double-team maneuver from the Moondogs. Piper's Pit immediately follows that match, and this week Rowdy Roddy Piper's guest is Gamma Singh.
Where you come from? Wait a second.
Are you freaking kidding me?
Mr. Piper, I think you've been making fun of me.
Making fun of you? No, whoa.
I ain't making fun of you. I was just trying to get you to decide to come with a man like myself.
Mr. Piper, I've decided to go with the best.
All right!
Okay, I knew Big Jim had at least a little bit of intelligence in that big head of his. Finally, he'll be set to be managed by the best, Rowdy Roddy.
Mr. Hulk Hogan.
What the hell's wrong with you?
Piper, you're out. He's my man now.
How dare you, Hulk Hogan, staking your claim on someone else's find? You conniving son of a gun. You'll pay, Hulk Hogan, and so will you, Big Jim from Kentucky. Who likes Kentucky? Almost as bad as Kentucky is Texas. That's where one of the two participants, Blackjack Mulligan, in the next match hails from. And just like the state of Kentucky and their backwards education, they must teach him pretty dumb down in Texas, considering a veteran like Blackjack Mulligan should have known better than to turn his back on his opponent. But that gun-toting idiot does turn his back on Joe Mirto, who so takes advantage of the situation by not only beating on Mulligan, but then throwing him outside of the ring like a piece of garbage. Mulligan re-enters the match in a fury, hitting a big boot to Mirto's chest. Joe Mirto is then thrown himself down to the floor and only returns to the ring hesitantly. It's at this time that Brutus Beefcake makes another one of his unannounced yet highly appreciated surprise entrances. Even this attempted distraction is not enough to save Joe Mirto's ailing chances of success, as he falls moments later to a reverse elbow from Blackjack Mulligan. Every week, Don Muraco gets one step closer to his in-ring return, while every week I'm driven one step closer to insanity, knowing that he's in Hawaii and I'm not.
Have you ever looked up in a coconut tree and seen a monkey fall out? That's Jimmy Snuka.
The main event of Championship Wrestling and of 1984 is a tag team match. Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo take on the team of R.T. Reynolds and Rene Goulet. Rotundo starts the match off by working on Goulet's left arm, a trend that Windham continues as he comes off the second rope once tagged in. At this point on commentary, Vince McMahon informs us about that ceremony which was to be held in honor of Cyndi Lauper yesterday on the 28th in Madison Square Garden. We'll get to see what exactly went down at that ceremony on next week's Championship Wrestling. Back to the action, Rotundo tags back in and quickly finds himself in trouble within enemy territory. This forces Barry Windham to go to his partner's aid, and he's able to get tagged back in as a result. Windham uses this opportunity to lift Reynolds up and hit a huge body slam, and the subsequent pin is thankfully interrupted by Goulet. Mike Rotundo once more gets the tag and says enough is enough, putting his team into the winners column following an airplane spin to celebrate the win and ring in the new year. Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo demonstrate tremendous sportsmanship by attacking both R.T. Reynolds and Rene Goulet unjustifiably following the conclusion of the match. I guess now that Christmas is over, pretending that you're both actually good guys just isn't necessary anymore, is it, fellas? With that, the final week of 1984 comes to an end. But wait, Tyler Vance, you said that someone's career was supposed to come to an end. I don't normally like to talk about backstage issues and rather keep things to what we see on television screens, but this one instance just couldn't be ignored. On December 28th in Madison Square Garden, at the very same event that honored Cyndi Lauper, Dr. D. David Schultz got into a backstage altercation with reporter John Stossel, who was representing the American corporation ABC. Stossel asked the good doctor if wrestling was fake, which resulted in him receiving not one, but 2 slaps from Dr. D. David Schultz. This altercation received huge media coverage and even led to a suspension of Dr. Schultz. John Stossel himself filed a lawsuit against the World Wrestling Federation, which was inevitably settled out of court. As a result of these actions, in early 1985, Dr. D. David Schultz will be fired from the World Wrestling Federation. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Tyler Vance Rants. Ring in the new year in style by hitting the bell, liking the video, and subscribing. That way, you'll be notified when every single 1985 episode is released. You can also follow me on social media, where I'll make every single day of 2024 feel like it's 1985 in pro wrestling all over again. That's all for now. Happy New Year. Using several of them to employ a blah 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 blah. I've dialed 9-1. Only one more to...